Jennifer Lawrence was the first woman to do an action movie, according to Jennifer Lawrence. But before Jennifer Lawrence made that claim, Elizabeth Banks, the director of Cocaine Bear, made compatible claims while promoting her previous directorial effort, the outright misandric Charlie's Angels reboot. That movie utterly tanked, while Cocaine Bear, which is void of the message, is catching on with audiences and at the box office. Yet, incredibly, in the days prior to its release, Elizabeth Banks was worried that it was Cocaine Bear that was going to destroy her career. Considering that Cocaine Bear has no wokeness or other audience repellent in it, that it was given a mini-blockbuster treatment with a day-and-date release in large swaths of the world, and that it came in at a comparatively modest budget, that seems like a somewhat peculiar worry. In a recent interview with, or rather paid puff piece from Variety though, she may inadvertently have given the real reason why she reportedly was worried. In this editorial, I'll begin with Elizabeth Banks' convenient rewrite of history as pertains to Charlie's Angels. The official reason why she was worried about Cocaine Bear destroying her career leading up to its release, and reading between the lines, what I think the real reason behind the worry may have been. The Variety puff piece titled "This Could Be a Career Ender, Elizabeth Banks Risks It All for the Gory R-Rated Cocaine Bear" makes it clear already in its opening phrase that the intended audience for this article isn't the actual movie-going audience, but rather Hollywood itself and the surrounding entertainment media complex, so that they can further disseminate the information presented here in other seed articles, have it inform questions for later interviews and red carpet events and what have you not. What this Variety article is nothing short of the approved and official behind-the-scenes account of the movie and director Elizabeth Banks as decreed by the studio. There are two tells for this. One is that it's published in Variety, though it may as well have been published in Vanity Fair. The other is that the whole piece begins with, "You are not going to believe this, but Elizabeth Banks has never done cocaine." The "you" here doesn't refer to you, the audience, but to you, the Hollywood incumbents and the surrounding media complex. Their response to that statement may be a bewildered, "No way!" but outside of select echelons in Hollywood and other limited segments of business and society, never having done cocaine is the rule rather than the exception, and hardly some shocking, attention-grabbing revelation. But kudos to Banks, I guess, whom the article makes clear is goody two-shoes. With Banks having been distanced from the usage of cocaine, the article then provides a brief summary of the plot for Cocaine Bear the movie, and before hyping for that continues, the article then has no choice but to address, or rather, set the narrative regarding Banks' previous directorial effort, the spectacular failure that was Charlie's Angels. The article reads, after the rousing success of her directorial debut, 2015's Pitch Perfect 2, about an all-female team of a cappella singers, Banks' second film, 2019's Charlie's Angels, about an all-female team of covert spies, based on the late 70s TV show, was the kind of humiliating flop that young directors, especially women, often don't recover from. Note that there is no evidence to back up the claim that a flop is worse for a young female director than for a young male director. That is just something we will have to take Variety's word for. Doubling down on the notion that this was extra bad for Elizabeth Banks though, Variety continues. It wasn't just that the $48 million film, which Banks also produced, wrote and starred in, returned only $73.3 million worldwide. She stepped into a social media firestorm when an interview about how women in action films are received was interpreted as her blaming the film's poor reception on sexism. And there we have our rewrite of history. She didn't say anything wrong. Oh no. She just made some general comments that were misinterpreted, taken out of context, if you will. So it was your fault. Except that's not what happened. I'm old enough to remember, because I made a video documenting exactly what she said across multiple interviews, and I did so at the time when she made those interviews. It's true that she didn't blame men after the movie had flopped, but she did, in no uncertain terms, make it clear prior to release that if the movie were to flop upon release, then the fault of that would lie with the men who failed to support the one female-centric action movie to come out every 17 years. And yes, she did say that. The irony of that statement is that first and foremost, it was the women who didn't support that movie, as more women went to see the contemporary Rambo Last Blood in its opening weekend than went to see Charlie's Angels. Even if Banks had made it as woke, inclusive, pro-women, anti-male, and politically divisive as she possibly could. For any young director, a flop like Charlie's Angels can be career-ending, and it will send even more seasoned directors to movie jail, where no one will offer them another directing opportunity for years upon years to come. But on the note of movie jail, after claiming that this flop was extra hard on Banks as a female, Variety suddenly does an about-face and states, "One happy surprise after the financial failure of Charlie's Angels was that Banks never went to movie jail like so many other female filmmakers with flops before her." Oh, so movie jail is only for female directors now, is it? No male director goes to movie jail. Is that what Variety is suggesting here? Because that leaves the realm of spin and enters the realm of outright lies and gaslighting. "I wasn't that worried about it," she says. "I mean, I do a lot of things." On that failure, though, the Variety journalist writes, "I took full responsibility for Charlie's Angels. Certainly no one else did," Banks says, fixing me with a hard stare. "It was all laid on me, and I happily accepted, because what else am I supposed to do?" With Cocaine Bear, though, Banks has found a way outside the box opportunity to come back strong. Whoa. Did Variety just jump straight from Charlie's Angels to Cocaine Bear? Because they conveniently left something out between the two. While Cocaine Bear is indeed the first movie she's directed since Charlie's Angels, she bounced back immediately as an actress, headlining last year's Call Jane, another female-centric, highly partisan, politically divisive, message-driven pro-abortion film that even partnered with Planned Parenthood and the Abortion Care Network for clinic screenings. Despite being a message-driven specialty film not really made to make money, it too flopped in a horrendous fashion, barely grossing $500,000 worldwide. So that's 2 message-driven woke flops in a row that Elizabeth Banks bounced back from without issue. Why then was she seemingly worried about the message-free Cocaine Bear? After going on and on about how hard it is to be a woman in Hollywood, and how there is so little diversity and opportunity that even Marvel didn't get back to her when she wanted to direct Thor Ragnarok, though she may yet have the last laugh over Marvel, the article reads, "She's aware, at times extraordinarily so, of the effect her words could have on her career, especially with a movie as outrageous as Cocaine Bear. The film represents something new and potentially perilous for Banks. A chance to establish her own original filmmaking voice, and the possibility that audiences could reject it. You know, like they did on Charlie's Angels. Cocaine Bear is a ginormous risk," she says, breaking into a peal of that laughter. "This could be a career ender for me." So, she wasn't worried when Charlie's Angels flopped, even though it had nearly twice the budget of Cocaine Bear and a marketing campaign that screamed to all men everywhere that this is not for you, and she didn't even mention how badly the hyper-partisan Call Jane flopped. She bounced right back from both of those without missing a beat. But here she was nervous about Cocaine Bear, a modestly budgeted movie that there's genuine audience interest in, and, lest we forget, that is produced by Lord and Miller, who do have something of a track record when it comes to making crowd pleasers. Because with Cocaine Bear, the script was already in place, the producers were already on board, the studio was already committed to making it, and only then did Banks enter the picture. Variety even states she really doesn't see herself as a director for hire. Cocaine Bear is the first film Banks has helmed that she didn't in some way generate herself, and she relished the opportunity to make it her own. "I can't do someone else's vision," she says. "I really want to bring my sensibility to things." Even so, unlike her previous flops, there is some pedigree behind this one, so why worry? Elizabeth Banks is an activist, and this whole article is written from that point of view. The main recurring theme here is prejudice and bias against women in Hollywood, and how that hasn't really changed all that much, and I won't pretend there is no merit in that. But there is another recurring theme here as well, albeit it is hidden between the lines. That would be blaming everyone else. Banks claims that she took responsibility for the failure of Charlie's Angels, but in the press leading up to the movie, she was pretty clear that if it were to fail, that would be the fault of all men. Even this Variety article tacitly shifts some of the blame onto those who, quote-unquote, misunderstood her statements, as it were. This then became a convenient excuse, and she even makes that point about this Variety puff piece, saying, "This article will be disastrous for me on some level, no matter what. Someone will find something to put in some headline to get clicked on, and I'll get in trouble with somebody."
I'm guilty as charged.
Yet, she always bounced back from her previous failures without ever missing a beat, or without enduring any real repercussions. The point even is made that her calendar was always full of engagements and paying jobs, even after her flops, which is a marked contrast to what happens with most young male directors with a track record like hers. I think a part of the reason she was able to breeze through her past failures that way is that while her flops were divisive outside of Hollywood, within the Hollywood bubble, they were seen as virtuous and on message, and for the right person, there is significant leniency to be found in that. But on Cocaine Bear, there is no such message. There is no hiding behind the excuse that I made a good and virtuous movie, the pleb just weren't receptive to it. Cocaine Bear was made to make money. There is public interest in it, and there are successful producers behind it. And the holdover from the week before, Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, tanked with audiences. If Cocaine Bear were to underperform despite all of those advantages, then there would be no excuse to hide behind. That's why she was worried, and I submit that eventuality was what this article was made to excuse. Luckily, it did well, so in retrospect, there was no need for this Variety article to be written. The movie was never as risky as Variety would have us all believe. What did you think of Cocaine Bear? And if the roles were reversed, do you think a compatible young male director would have been given the same opportunities that Elizabeth Banks was given? Let me know in the comments.